क्योंकि टाटा स्टील के नंबर आ चुके हैं और उनके मैनेजमेंट टीवी नरेंद्र जी हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं। नरेंद्रन जी, और उनसे जरा करते हैं बातचीत और उनसे समझ लेते हैं कि इस समय के नंबर्स कैसे रहे, और क्योंकि उनकी यूरोप और इंडिया दोनों में अच्छी ग्रोथ आई है। एक बार सुन लेते हैं वो क्या कह रहे हैं।
How much of the uptick which the steel industry has experienced in FY22 will get challenged? Challenged because of energy shock, challenged because of demand, challenged because of high inflation.
So, Nikunj, we are in a volatile space. That's so clear, right? Our input costs are fluctuating. Inflation is an issue globally. Interest rates are going up. We are a capital-intensive industry. But having said that, I think structurally the industry is in a much better place than in the past. From a discipline point of view, there is very little excess capacity going around. It's becoming more a regional and a local trade issue. Exports out of China is no longer a threat. Ukraine and Russia were big exporters and they are no longer in the market. So for multiple reasons, the demand supply is far better balanced. The government focus on infrastructure spending across the world is there, which is good for steel demand. Even if this war, once it gets sorted out, there'll be reconstruction. Europe is going to spend a lot more on defense than it did in the past. And there's a lot of investment happening in Europe and elsewhere on transforming into a greener future. So I think overall, I expect the steel industry to have a few good years ahead. And nowhere in the steel industry, apart from in India, is capacity being added significantly, unlike in the past when steel prices were high and a lot of capacity was added in China. So I think overall, we are in a much better place, and that will reflect in the numbers for the industry. Tata Steel is in a much better place as a company, and so that'll get reflected in the Tata Steel numbers as well.
What is the plan in place to manage the volatility in coal prices? Because Tata Steel is still dependent on imported coke, imported coal, and given that there is a coal shortage for power sector, there really could be a challenge in terms of importing more coal for steel plants now.
So, the steel sector uses metallurgical coal, which has always been imported because India doesn't have good quality metallurgical coal. So only 10% of the coal available in India is metallurgical coal, and even only a fraction of that is really coming to the steel plants. So we are not dependent on domestic coal as much for our steel making. And imported coal has been volatile, but now it's stabilized quite a bit. I think what is, of course, of concern to us is if the power outages impact our customers, because steel plants typically have captive power plants, so we are not impacted by the grid power as much, but many of our customers are, and we are watchful of that from that perspective.
Given that you're generating more free cash flow, you've also increased your dividend payout. I'm asking you a very basic question because markets would compare your dividend payout ratio with what other companies are doing globally and what other Indian metal companies are doing. Do you see a change happening there? Because even though the dividend payout is significantly higher than what you've given in the past, it is significantly lower than what other metal companies are giving.
So I think, Nikunj, we've been a bit prudent because we have a lot of ambitions on growth in India. We want to double our capacity over the next 10 years. So if you look at globally metals and mining companies, some of them don't have the growth ambition that we have. So we need to make sure that we keep aside money for growth, because this is very value accretive growth, the growth in India. So our dividend payout is factored that in. We are trying to be as generous as possible with our shareholders, while at the same time focused on creating long-term value for them by investing in growth in India. So that's why you see a balance there.
ठीक है, टीवी नरेंद्रन जी अपनी बात रखते हुए ये कह रहे हैं कि कंपनी का फोकस ग्रोथ पे अभी बना रहेगा। उनकी यूरोपियन इकाई, उनकी इंडियन इकाई ठीक है। जब कोयले की बात पूछेगी तो आप तो इंपोर्टेड कोल पे बहुत ज़्यादा निर्भर हैं, तो उन्होंने कहा कि भारत में उस तरह का कोयला है नहीं, इसलिए हमको इंपोर्टेड कोल पे निर्भर रहना पड़ता है। लेकिन फिर भी अब दाम स्टेबलाइज हैं, तो उम्मीद करते हैं कि आगे चल के मार्जिन उनके अच्छे ही रहेंगे।